Welcome to America News. Fast, factual, and to the point. We bring breaking updates, clear explainers, and sober analysis. Subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss our reports. Today, the president says he's directing the Secretary of War to send troops to Portland and authorizing full force. What does that actually mean? First the facts, then the context and what to watch next. Let's go. A new fight over federal power is brewing. The president announced troops for war-ravaged Portland and authorized full force if necessary. What does that mean? On what legal basis? And who supports it? Let's break it down. On social media, he said the Secretary of War was being directed to provide all necessary forces to protect the city and ICE facilities under threat, and that full force was authorized. There were no details on whether this means National Guard units or active duty military, and no definition of full force. For weeks, protests outside Portland's ICE site have flared into clashes with regional law enforcement. The Department of Homeland Security reports assaults on the facility and several arrests on federal charges. Officials also accuse radical activists of doxing officers and sending threats. At the same time, the White House moved to label Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. Legal experts note there is no clear mechanism in U.S. law to designate domestic groups this way, and First Amendment protections could prompt court challenges. The legal frame centers on the Posse Comitatus Act, which limits the use of the U.S. military in domestic law enforcement. Earlier this month, a federal judge in California ruled that a recent National Guard deployment to Los Angeles was unlawful under these constraints. The key questions now: which forces would be used, under what status, and on which statutory authority? Critics in Oregon warn of a 2020 replay, citing detentions of people they say posed little risk, including a father near a preschool and a wildland firefighter on duty. They point to a Cato Institute figure claiming 65% of those detained by ICE had no criminal convictions. Supporters counter that Portland has slid into lawlessness and that federal sites must be protected. Some officials praised the announcement as overdue. What could full force mean in practice? Without definitions, the phrase sounds sweeping, but real actions are constrained by law. Most likely, it would involve reinforced security for federal buildings, more DHS tactical teams, and federal arrests under existing statutes. Any involvement of military units would require specific orders and compliance with stricter rules of engagement. What happens next? Reporters have requested the actual directives from the department referenced by the president. Expect potential lawsuits challenging federal authority, congressional inquiries, and inspector general reviews. Politically, the announcement energizes supporters while intensifying pushback in cities divided over immigration and security. In short, a headline-grabbing declaration with significant legal caveats. Outcomes will depend on which units are tasked, the rules governing their actions, and how fast the courts respond. Is this necessary protection or a risky precedent? Tell us in the comments and subscribe to America News for verified updates as the documents are released.